Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the rumor that Apple is going to be working with Toyota and what that means for Tesla, self-driving cars, and of course, Apple. Alright, welcome back. For this video, to make sure that you like and subscribe. The number one reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get into the money-making trends before they go mainstream. So there's a lot to unpack here. So Apple is supposedly working with Toyota to make their new Apple car. Now, Apple is making an Apple car, but they need a big manufacturer to do it. And they thought they were going to go with one of the Korean car manufacturers, but the Korean car manufacturer spilled the beans way too early, and apparently Apple was not happy about it. But let's take a look at Toyota. Now, I actually really like Toyota and Honda, and I'm going to get to Honda later, but I really do like Toyota. In fact, one of the cars I had for a very long time was a 2001 Toyota Camry because it was just so reliable. The only reason I got rid of it was, well, the air conditioner broke, and if you've ever tried to fix your own air conditioner in your car, you realize that it's really expensive and really complicated. This is the one thing that I really like Tesla for. Tesla tries to make their machines simple, and simple means simple repair. So of course, air conditioners in gas cars use gas, but in electric cars, they have to think of a whole new way of doing things. And that's why Tesla is rumored to have its own HVAC system, which I think is really interesting. But I'm getting off topic here. So first of all, Toyota is an interesting choice because Toyota has gone way too deep into hydrogen. And I don't think that hydrogen for consumer cars is ever going to be a real thing. First of all, hydrogen isn't the best store of energy. Lithium-ion batteries and solid-state batteries do a much better job. Now, it's possible that Toyota is working on some solid-state batteries. There have been some rumors and some reports about that. But the thing is that Toyota has gone way too deep into hydrogen, and there's a good reason for that. Believe it or not, Japan's power grid is actually two different power grids in one. And if you were to put electric cars instead of gas cars in all of Japan, well, then it would be a huge problem for the power grid because power grids in most developed countries are not really that good. They're quite old and dilapidated and need a bit of work. So instead, there is a solution to use hydrogen instead. Now, having said all of that, I still don't think hydrogen for consumer cars is the best option. I think there is a good case to be made for hydrogen for bigger passenger vehicles, such as ferries, perhaps trains in colder regions, and perhaps trucks in colder regions as well. Remember that electric power doesn't do very well in cold regions. Now, the other thing about hydrogen is that hydrogen does clean the air as you use it, and this is probably one of the best things. But I would not at all buy a hydrogen car even if it had a bunch of fancy new Apple technology. If I were to buy an Apple car, it would have to be electric, and it would have to have at least a 700-kilometer range. I don't even know what that is in miles. I've stopped using it. I've stopped caring. So it's possible that Toyota is going to make a fully electric car. And by the way, if any Japanese car makers are listening to this, all you have to do is make your current models electric with a 500-kilometer range, and that's it. That's how you compete with Tesla. You don't need to overthink this. Take your current model, whatever it is, and make it electric, not a plug-in hybrid, just fully electric, and make it have at least a 500-kilometer range. That's all you gotta do. So anyway, Apple is hiring a lot of people for their cars. They're even poaching Tesla employees, so it's going to happen. But the question is, of course, when? Well, in this particular article, it says maybe 2024, but that is a really long time away. By 2024, Tesla is going to have a huge advantage. And the thing about Tesla is that they are probably one of the best, most nimble companies that can make all of these kinds of products. It's really hard to mass produce the kind of products that Tesla does. And if you look at some of the people who tear down recent Teslas, they say that the quality improves basically every 3 months. And that is incredible. The fact that they can do this is insane. So it really does beg the question, what can a traditional automaker do? So the thing about Toyota is that they are as a traditional automaker as they come. They are not a fast-moving, fast-iterating company. They are a very slow behemoth that really doesn't want to improve. In fact, the CEO of Toyota did say that they want to make any kind of car available to any consumer. And what that means is that they can make, for example, 15 different models of gas, hydrogen, hybrid, and fully electric. Now, that's a terrible idea because the more products you have, the more quality control you can have. Now, if you've ever watched a show that rips apart restaurants, usually terrible restaurants have way too much on their items and good restaurants don't have a big menu. And the reason for this is simply quality control. You have a smaller menu which you can do very well versus a big menu that you can do well haphazardly. So that decision to make all those different kinds of cars isn't really that good. So here's the thing, I actually do really like Toyota cars. They might be a bit on the expensive side, but I do really like their reliability. In fact, I almost bought a RAV4 instead of a Honda CR-V. So speaking of Honda, if there's any car company that Apple should partner with, it should be Honda. And the reason for that is they actually make really good cars. My Honda CR-V Touring Edition is actually really good. I really like it. In fact, there's very few things I dislike about it. Now, of course, the things I dislike about it are, well, the screen isn't too big and Honda and all of these legacy car companies don't seem to want to embrace all the new features that are in a Tesla, which again, if any of the car makers are listening to this, all you got to do is hop in a Tesla and kind of mimic what they do. Now again, I'm pretty impressed with Honda. They don't have the huge problem that Toyota does where they have all these different models. Of course, every legacy car company has way more models than they probably should, but Honda does it very well. Now speaking of which, have you seen a new Honda Civic? Now I'm old enough to remember that a Honda Civic used to be a terrible first car. It used to be, well, basically a cheap car that if you were, too poor to afford a good car, you bought a Honda Civic. Well, that probably changed in the mid-2000s when they changed the Honda Civic to look a little bit better, and now Honda Civics look really good. Now maybe this is because I'm getting older and it's because I used to remember cars that look like this, but the new Honda Civic looks really awesome and it's fairly reliable. And I can say this about most Honda cars anyway. Most Honda vehicles do look good and they also feel good to drive. Now I would bet that Apple would be much better off with Honda versus Toyota, but that's just me personally. Honda seems to be a little bit more of a forward-thinking company and they have all the legacy items and features that Apple might want. Now what does this mean for self-driving cars? Well, I have a Comma 2 and my Comma 3 is in the mail, by the way, so if you've been waiting for that Comma 3 video, well, it's in the mail, and once I get it, I'm going to do a video on it for sure. But anyway, the Comma technologies are apparently better than Tesla's, and Apple could be a contender in that. I don't know yet. But the thing is that Toyota and Honda both have all of the mechanics to make full self-driving work. It's more at this point of a software issue rather than a hardware issue because it's easy to make the car turn and do all these things. And I think the Comma 3 is going to be absolutely amazing when it comes to this fact. And I'm really excited to see where Comma 3 goes. Now, is Apple's self-driving car going to be better than the Comma 3 or Tesla full self-driving? Well, we don't actually know. And the reason for that is that we have no details as to what they are doing. If they're using some kind of LiDAR or vision only, we just don't know. And we don't know what the engineers are actually doing and if they're actually even making any kind of process. The best thing about full self-driving, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's a scam or not, we actually have data on how it actually works. With the Comma 3, we have a lot of data on how it works, and well, newsflash, it works out really well. But we have so much data on both these two items. We have zero data on the Apple full self-driving car, and once we get more data, we'll be able to make a better assessment. Nevertheless, this does pose, but here's the thing about Apple. Apple makes higher end products, and both Toyota and Honda don't really make the highest end products. That's kind of like a BMW in the space. In fact, if I were to compare Apple with any car company, it would probably be BMW and definitely not Honda or Toyota. Having said that though, the Apple car could be in their higher echelon. Again, I bought the touring model of the CR-V and I am very impressed with it. It does feel like the luxury car I always want at the price that I can really afford. So this begs the question, what does this mean for Tesla? Well, I think there's a lot of overlap between Apple users and Tesla users, and I think that once Apple comes out with a car, Tesla stock is going to tank quite a bit. Now, when that happens, I don't know. And it also depends on what Tesla is going to do and what the company is at their state. Because if Tesla is doing a really good job at making new models, making them quickly, getting them into consumers' hands, and if full self-driving by the time the Apple Car comes out is better than the Apple full self-driving feature, well, then the stock won't tank as much, but it will probably tank. And the reason for that is that Apple has a bigger cult than Tesla. And once you realize that the Apple cult is bigger than the Tesla cult, people will just migrate to the Apple Car regardless on its functionality. And we already see this with other Apple products. The iPhone does less things than Android technology, but people will buy an iPhone year after year because it's an iPhone. And so that's going to happen with the Apple Car as well. Now, the other thing that is really important to understand is the right to repair. How repairable will the Apple Car be? We've all seen those jokes where the Apple Car has basically zero repairability. And this is a thing with all car companies. You know, if I want to do anything with a car, I have to bring it into the dealership. Whereas Tesla doesn't do this. And I really hate bringing my car into the dealership. And especially if Apple wants to pair with one of these legacy car manufacturers, it's going to be, well, probably the worst customer experience ever. And this is where Tesla can shine as well. I really do want a Tesla, but I want 700 kilometers of range before I actually buy one. And as time goes on, there's going to be a lot more superchargers. Now, the other thing about charging is that I hope the Tesla and whatever Apple Car's chargers are compatible. I really don't want a proprietary charging with my Apple Car. That would be a huge deal breaker for me because I really hate my Lightning port in my iPhone. I really wish it was a USB-C. And the next iPhone might not even have a port at all, and I really don't want that because this microphone is plugged into my iPhone right now, and what am I gonna do? So there's a lot of things about Apple I really don't like, and when I go back to a legacy car manufacturer and I say, oh, I can do all these things, I can add in my own custom items, well, this is absolutely amazing. With the Apple Car, you might have to go to the Apple Store or the dealership for absolutely every single thing, and that is going to be a terrible customer experience. And it has to do a better job than Tesla, because if it doesn't do a better job than Tesla, well then guess what? I'm not gonna buy it. So there's a lot to unpack here with the Apple Car, full self-driving, and what Tesla's going to do. And I think that competition in this space is good. So the things that I really want in an Apple Car are fully electric, full self-driving, and 700 kilometers of range, with making sure that the customer experience on repair isn't too bad. And I want to be able to add in my own things to the car. All right, so that concludes this video. I want to know your thoughts down below. Is it a good idea for Apple to pair with Toyota? What does it mean for full self-driving? Do you have a comma 3 or comma 2? I want to know your comments down below. If you really like this channel, you can subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. This channel doesn't do a Patreon. We have monthly and yearly options where we release 20 to 60 hours of fresh new content per month every single month. With your help, we want to get to 10,000 paid subscribers per month. Then we can release 200 to 300 hours of content per month every single month. And we can build a whole bunch of EdTech solutions. I cannot state how much it helps us out when you subscribe to our content. Not only does it help with this channel, but it helps out Mammoth Interactive. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.